Welcome to the video about leather embossing and then actually textile embossing. So embossing is where we take a male and female die and we're pressing the shape into the leather, but we're stuffing it with the boss back to create an up area. So when you press this, you feel that there's resistance because we put the product in there. Here we had a concept where we can add a color in there. So the die is determining the detail, and the die generally, the cost has come down significantly from back in 1999 when we started to being very reasonable. So when you would be the owner of a machine, when you wanted to do something like a left chest logo here, if you submit maybe 5 or 6 or 7 at a time, then you'd be somewhere in the neighborhood of under $20 a die. This is a full back die, bit more detail, but really nice. This was on chair leather. This was for the one of the customers who did awards, and this is like a boot leather, but they made some specific award, and this is multi-layer. So you notice that there's the letters, the big letters are higher than the lower letters, and all the letters are on the one piece that's higher, and the horse is a different level than the rest. This is a one-layer die, the seal, and simple lettering. So there are tricks that we teach you on how to get a three-dimensional effect and how to keep it very simple. This was for some aircraft overseas, the interior. Some university here, obviously the car one. When you have different types of leather, you get different effects based on temperature and based on pressure because the oils change. This is a simulated leather, so I'm making a patch. This was for the front of a menu. It's for a jacket company overseas. Everybody knows who Ford is, so it was for some chair. Everybody knows who Cadillac is. It was for chairs and interior. Blue Jays, the Toronto baseball team. And here we got deerskin. I always like this one. Very soft feel, almost like a chamois leather, but not quite. And customer out west is one of the last tanneries that does deer leather. This logo was the hardest logo, and it dates back to 1999. There's some nostalgia here because never was there an embossing project that we took on that was more difficult than the first die. And the first die had the most detail right down to the fingernails, the earlobe, and the hair, and the belt line, high or different. So that was an incredible job. And after that, everything got easier, but that was one of the showcases we did for leather furniture when we started the business in '99. You've got corporate stuff on different types of leather. You've got very heavy, that's that, I guess it's like a tile leather that you use on floors and walls. This is the detail of the tools that this company sells. I guess they're woodworking tools, etc., and files, comes out beautifully in the leather. So now a lot of the decoration on leather is not so much three-dimensional anymore. It's basically one dimension, mostly pressing down. Hockey teams, etc. Full back. And this is embossed with embroidery as a reverse applique, so we use our laser to do that as well. A lot of detail in leather itself. Leather was always impressive because you could get multi-dimension, multi-layer, and the leather suits itself better than a textile because it never gets washed. And I'll cover that in the next video on how easy it is to wash materials with embossing, but in the leather you wouldn't wash it. This is all gold foil stamping, so the embossing machine can deboss, and when it's debossing you could also do gold foil stamping. Again, we talk about the patches that we can do, drink coasters. These patches are used to sew onto a fleece, microfleece, polar fleece garment, and you attach it down, and you've reduced massive stitch count, and you've got a multimedia effect. These are luggage tags or furniture tags. This is just darkened from rubbing against the other piece there. This is a phenomenal example of three-dimensional. Again, this was after the golf die. We had the license in the early days when we started the business to do this type of work in furniture. So you've got the split-back Corvette and an enormous amount of detail and beautiful, and it has that boss back, so it's like a 14-second decoration to do a full-back jacket. It's absolutely stunning. These were picture covers for a tour group company. This was our marketing principle on a drink coaster, telephone company, and then, you know, the Dodge Ram, of course. So today, this film is being made in late 2012, and the current Dodge Ram trucks have embossing using our process. Simple debossing, but it looks embossed. Remember D for down, It's all debossing here. Here's a type of PVC material. Here's that synthetic suede or synthetic leather again. And then here, when you crank up the temperature, you can get literally a branded effect and burn the leather if you want to. This is a chunk of floor tile or wall tile. This is an example of when you make a headrest cover for an airplane, etc., where you put Velcro on the one side here and then that sticks across. Cool project that we did coming up shortly. So there's debossing and embossing, and the same machine can do something very finite and detailed. And these are all things you wouldn't embroider, wouldn't dare try to embroider. So look at this tread here of a tire. We did a program where we did this around the sleeve of a jacket when it was cut in sew days. Here you've got that similar Corvette logo again embossed, where we've used the synthetic leather altogether. And Denver Broncos, so I think the word Broncos is somewhere else coming up here. Right here. And again, this was for furniture, for a boardroom, etc. So there's a lot of projects with leather, aircraft, etc., chair, furniture, and wearables that are very popular. And this is the wonderful team in Toronto that hasn't won anything since I've been born. So we've been trying to get them happy with some embossing. It hasn't helped. This is interesting here, where you can take a look at how by changing the die you can have a very square, fixed, finished look with multi-levels, very defined, or you can change the artwork around and have a softer edge to it and a different look altogether. So here you can use this more or less for a textile because it has the border around it. For the leather you'd have a much smaller border. Let me see, what we'll do is we'll end this video and we'll switch over to the textiles.